Hello everyone, I'm Joanna Penn from thecreativepenn.com and this is my first ever Facebook Live Q&A and we did a little test earlier and hopefully there are some people here ready to ask me questions, otherwise I will be Billy No Mates. So we shall see how we go. But if you are here and you are somewhere in the world, and I did this a bit earlier, I did a little test earlier, so I do have some questions already. Oh, hi Aisling, woohoo, hello everyone. And just tell me whether you can hear me all right, so I can just check that you're hearing me. And also I would love to know where you are in the world. So what city you're in, what country you're in. I really love to hear where people are from. If you listen to the show, the podcast, you will know that I'm kind of obsessed with where people are in the world. I am in Bath in the southwest of England and it is raining again. It is a Sunday night and I have a glass of wine. Here we go, a nice Pinot Noir, and ready to answer any questions. John says he's in Aspen, Colorado. Hi to Andrew. Manchester. London. Ashling's in London, in it. More people in London. Hertfordshire. Fantastic. Lots of Brits. I guess it is Sunday afternoon in America. So, although we do have John there. So that's very cool. So we're going to start. So I would love you to post your questions. And I will be happy to answer anything you want to ask about writing, publishing, book marketing, or making a living with your writing. Those are kind of the main topics I cover. However, given that we're here, just a few of us, I'm happy to answer any questions you have. Oh, Nadine has a glass of Rioja, fantastic. And good to see we have people from all over the place. And of course in England it is the evening, so we can have wine. Okay, so please do pass your questions, and while I'm waiting to see your questions from the live, I will just pick up a couple from earlier. Jeff from earlier asks, do you have any advice as to advertising on Facebook, Twitter or Google regarding the most effective of the three and the strategy? So advertising on Facebook, Twitter or Google, what is the most effective? Okay, so personally, I think it's going to depend on whether you are writing fiction or non-fiction. So for example, if you write non-fiction and you have it's very difficult to continue because I keep seeing comments. Cyril's having spritz in France. Okay, you've all got to put questions now. It's lovely to see where you all are. But start putting questions so I can answer them. Otherwise it will all just get very silly. So anyway, back to the Facebook, Twitter or Google. So yes, if you write non-fiction, then essentially I think it will be a good idea to use probably any of those things if you have a platform. So Twitter, for example, I am a pretty big user of Twitter, to be honest. But what I found with Twitter advertising is that it is not as effective as just posting my own posts on Twitter. So the thing I've switched to with Twitter is meetedgar.com. So with MeetEdgar, it is more expensive, but what you can do is schedule basically set up all these different categories, and then it reposts your content at different times in the month. So you can say do 1 promotional post a day and 3 backlist content posts. So that's what I've started doing with MeetEdgar, and then I use bufferapp.com to schedule all the other Twitter stuff that I do, news feeds and articles and stuff like that. So I didn't find much return on Twitter, even though I did advertise my non-fiction. Facebook advertising is great for fiction or non-fiction, and Google ads I haven't actually used. So that is something, and to be honest, I probably won't be. I think the paying for Google advertising right now is very expensive unless you have a very strategic keyword. In fact, with Facebook advertising, it can also be expensive, but I've had much better results on Facebook advertising for book sales than I have on the other platforms. So great to see the questions are coming in thick and fast now, and my setup here, just in case you're interested. And of course I was very resistant to doing this live thing because as you know, I much prefer doing recording in advance and then posting things later. but my friend Mark Dawson encouraged me in this, so thanks Mark. But what I've got is my iPhone on a little stand, and then I've got my laptop, so I can actually see the questions as they come. I'm not quite sure how you're meant to decide which questions to do, so I'm just going to do the how I see them on the screen. So if you... Oh, thanks. Cheryl says I'm doing fine. Excellent. Robert says, don't be resistant. You're awesome. Thank you. Okay, I'm going to start with Cyril's question. Thank you, Cyril. Regarding the author mindset, are you doing the audiobook release at the same time? Yes. So what I have been doing, so what I did prior to December 2014 was I was recording audiobooks myself and then selling them direct. Then December 2014 was the EU VAT law, which came in around digital sales, and I stopped doing that and I went to ACX for Business for Authors, How to Be an Author Entrepreneur. I recorded that in a pro studio and put that through ACX. But the problem with ACX, as you guys hopefully know, is that you don't have control over your pricing. And also you just, well, it just ended up, the profits from audiobook sales have really kind of gone down. So I've decided with the Successful Author Mindset, which is here, and apparently it's round the wrong way because my camera is round the wrong way. I don't really know how to fix that, but anyway, it is actually the right way in real life. I decided that I want to release the audiobook, ebook, print book and workbook at the same time, and I've got a workbook version too. We can talk about print formats if you like. So what I've decided is I want it all to go at the same time, and I want to have my own pricing. So I'll be selling the audiobook direct on the website when I've done that. In terms of how I'm recording it, I'm actually doing it in my walk-in closet with my ATR 2100 trusty microphone. So yeah, ATR 2100 is what I use for podcasting and also for recording this audio. And the app, that's I guess the program I'm using is Amadeus Pro on the Mac, but you can also use Audacity or any of the recording or GarageBand or whatever it is on Microsoft to do that. Okay, so I hope that encourages you, because I want to do audiobooks. I'm actually going to record all my non-fiction myself, but doing it through ACX has just been a pain in the ass. Lee Anderson says, just finished reading The Successful Author Mindset. You must have got a lucky early version and loved it. You say the penny dropped on writing a novel when you deconstructed one in detail. Do you have a template you can share? Of what information? Okay, so basically what I did, and I think this is a really good idea if you want to write fiction or non-fiction, is that I actually took a book, I actually did a book of James Rollins. I think it was Map of Bones, so I really like James Rollins. So basically what I did was chapter 1, how many words approximately, so if you calculate how many words on a line, how many lines on a page, how many words in a chapter. So chapter 1, how many words? What was the first line? So what opening lines of chapters? What was the last line? Closing lines of chapters? What was the point of view? That is a really big lesson for fiction. And anything else, what happened? Obviously. So then I essentially did that through the whole book, and that gave me an idea. Like even reading the last lines of chapters will give you such a good grounding in cliffhangers, certainly in the thriller genre. So I think that's a really big deal. Also, if you break down enough of them, say if you want to write romance, break down 20 romance books, you really will get an understanding of what the genre readers want. And this is a big deal that I'm going to just keep hammering on about, I think. And then the pennies always drop for me. But basically, when you're writing anything, when you're writing non-fiction, so even like The Successful Author Mindset, it was very hard because I wanted to please you guys. And when you're writing a genre book, you have to please the people that you're writing for, and therefore you have to know what they want. So I think deconstructing books is very important. Okay, let's see what else. What about Createspace versus Lulu? How do you feel one weighs up against the other in terms of distribution and cost? Okay, so this is about print distribution. So Createspace versus Lulu is a I would say basically Lulu is not what is recommended by professional indie authors. The two companies that are recommended for print on demand, and if you don't know, print on demand is when you upload your digital files and then when a customer orders a copy, one copy is printed and sent to the customer. So the two companies recommended are Createspace and Ingram Spark. And I suggest you check out Choosing a Self-Publishing Service by the Alliance of Independent Authors, and that will help you with the questions to look at and also which companies are recommended and which are not. So hopefully that helps. I'm just going to take a sip of wine because there's so many questions. I'm just going to be hardcore otherwise. Oh, Robert says I'm going to do a list of it's amazing how it just kind of scrolls past. Someone just said something. Is it better to start with short stories or novellas or start a novel? It's a really good question. I would say that short stories are really blooming hard. I actually have one here. This is so great because I can just show you stuff here. This is a short story. It's so hard. This is like the fourth draft already. It's super, super hard to write a short story. So a novella, however, and a short story is kind of under 4,000. That one's about 2.5. But essentially a novella around 25 to say 40,000 words, I actually find those the easiest to write because they're long enough that you get enough of a story and not so long that it's really hard to juggle everything in your head. And for non-fiction, obviously the successful author mindset is really quite small. It's only about 40,000 words. So it would count as a novella size book and is priced as such. So I would say, whatever idea is in your head, but if you want to finish something, and finishing is, really important, then essentially I would try for a novella length project. Nathan says, I'm curious what your biggest priority is on a daily basis with your marketing, email subscribers, Facebook ads. What do you make sure to do daily? Okay, so daily, it's really tough because I kind of have a constant marketing stream, and I'm a real fan of content marketing. So if we take just content marketing, so I have on the Creative Pen, I have a constant stream of traffic which is generated by the content I've been putting up regularly for 8 years. So on a daily basis, I'm checking comments on the Creative Pen. I'm today, Sunday, I do the intro to the podcast and I format the podcast and I do all the podcasty stuff. I generally schedule all my social media for the week, so there's always stuff going out from my accounts every day, quite a number of times per day, you might have noticed on Twitter, but most of that is scheduled. So like last week I took 4 days off. I didn't do much at all because we were at a 40th and having a party and a bit of a hangover and stuff, and so I didn't do anything, but everything was scheduled, so that's fine. So scheduling, I think, is the biggest help with regular content marketing. So for me, it's about keeping my profile in people's inbox, not inbox because it's not email. I'm not very good at email, to be honest. You might have noticed I don't email that often. So what else? So Facebook ads, at the moment we have a lead gen ad running constantly on the Creative Pen. So and we're doing that off the Pixel. And if you don't know what that means, it means if you visit the Creative Pen, Facebook knows, and then you might be served a lead gen ad, which is sign up for the Author 2.0 blueprint. Chances are that you lot are already signed up for the Author 2.0 blueprint, but that's running all the time. Again, I don't check anything. We use Zapier. Zapier is like a automatic linking app where you can basically use Zapier to link your lead gen Facebook ads to your email list. So that just does its thing every day. I am in the BookBub beta program at the moment, and that is fantastic. So when that does open up, I'm finding that very good, and I'm checking that every day. But that's a brand new thing that's only been in the last week, so that's been very positive. Okay. There's so many things. Oh, here we go. Here's one that I'm just going to have to pick and choose. Okay. I know that you use Patreon for your podcast. Have you ever tried crowdfunding one of your books? Okay. I'm quite okay, let's put it this way. I think you only have a certain number of asks available. Now, I absolutely think that if I decided to do a crowdfunding project that you guys wanted, then I would get funded. Absolutely. But then I don't believe I could just do it again. I think crowdfunding has to be for a very special project, and it has to be for something that your audience wants. So I will never crowdfund like one of my novels. I'd love to do a graphic novel at some point, and that would have to be crowdfunded because you have to pay the designer, the artist as such. So that's interesting. I might get into virtual reality at some point. Things that need more money and that would be a bigger project, like the Story Shop app that the guys at SPP are doing right now. That was a deserved Kickstarter, and I'm part of funding that too. So no, personally, I will not be crowdfunding a book, not for a while, and if I do, it will be something special. Okay. Oh, thank you so much for coming along. Anyway, I'm really thrilled. I was a bit worried that no one would turn up, but there's lots of people, so cool. Okay. Linda says, knowing what you know now and having the years experience you have, what approach would you recommend to transition from non-fiction to fiction? This is a great question and something that does definitely take time. I really think that non-fiction is an easier book to write, as in it's easier to structure non-fiction, it's easier to write non-fiction. Most of us have more experience writing non-fiction. So, if you use Scrivener and you organise your work and you do your chapters, you will get a non-fiction book done. For transitioning to fiction, I did How to Write a Novel in a Year at my local college when I was in Australia. And that was really useful because it set deadlines, like every month we met and you had to have written a certain amount. And you also need to learn the specific things that you need when you write a novel, like character, dialogue, plot, things like cliffhangers, things like genre. I mean, there's a lot of different things when you do a novel. And it's interesting you ask, Linda, because now the Successful Author Mindset's out the way, I will be working on how to write a novel. And it's funny because I kind of think, I can't write, I don't want to write that because I don't want to do a course on it. I don't want to write a book on it because I'm not good enough. But then the other thing I was thinking is I've done 11 now, and the further away you get from where you started, the harder it is to teach people, if you get what I mean. So I feel like, James Patterson did this masterclass on how to do a novel, and it was great. But I can't learn so much from James Patterson because he is 50 years away, or maybe not 50. Okay, he's 30 years ahead of me. Whereas I think if I try and teach that now, I will only be a couple of years ahead of some people who are just starting. So that's what I'm going to do next, is how to write a novel and kind of try and encapsulate everything I've learned. Oh, some people saying I need that course or book. Thank you, Jane. Yes, it will be coming. Marty Leek says, I'm impressed with the Facebook Live. Will you add Facebook Live as part of your podcast? I have actually heard now that you can do 2 people on Facebook Live. So if I get someone who is willing to do it, then I may well do that. Okay. At what stage of your writing career, Helen asks, do you think someone should start an author platform? Okay, so again, I think this is fiction versus non-fiction, because as a fiction author, I really don't think you know what you're doing until sort of book 3, and I don't think you know what genre you're writing or potentially what your voice is. So I would say for fiction authors, just concentrate on writing books or short stories or novellas or whatever. For non-fiction, you could start a platform anytime. And for example, you want to write books on communication in a corporate environment, for example. That doesn't sound very interesting. Let's go with you want to do stuff on pet care or dogs. Like you want to do a blog on dogs and have a podcast about dog care and like post Instagram pictures. You can start that on dogs anytime. And then if you have a book coming out on pet care, you'll have an audience in place. So I think the recommendations about author platform to me are much more useful if you have non-fiction rather than fiction. I think the author platform is overrated for fiction. I think that most of us sell books on the book sales sites themselves. So you're better off having more books on Amazon, Kobo, iBooks, etc. than you are spending time blogging, etc. And if you compare the creativepen.com to jfpen.com, you'll see that, I barely put stuff on jfpen.com. It's not a content marketing. I don't really have a platform as such as JFpen. So my audience is quite different, not difficult. Okay, Deborah says, I feel like I should be drinking a glass of wine, but it's early in New Orleans. Not that stopped me before. You're doing great. Oh, I'm glad you're enjoying it. What we should probably do is carry on after the second bottle of wine. Now that would be quite fun. Okay. Carry on. Is non-fiction essential for steady book income early on? To be honest, I think the number of books you have is essential for steady book income. I mean, because I posted recently my 1 year, the 1 year update on all the book sales. What I should do is also post the last 5 years worth of book sales data so you can see it, because, when I first started, I made like $20 a month. So yeah, I would basically say the number of books you have is the biggest driver of steady book income. Okay, Lou says, for a first-time novel writer, when is it best to have a manuscript or development editor look at your book? I'm actually looking to get an idea if my story actually works. Yeah, a really good idea, Lou. There are some people who will review an outline, so that can be good, or you get a structural edit. I mean, to be honest, if you've only written an outline and you haven't written the book, you may change your mind anyway. So I would probably get a structural edit or like a overarching story edit before, and don't get a line edit. And there's lots of people who do that. You basically just get like a 12-page report which says where are the holes. I did that. It's excellent. Okay. How's this going? Robert says, I'm doing the first and last line thing in a spreadsheet as I'm typing. Great tip for improving cliffhangers. Excellent. And Leah also says, feel like I should grab myself some wine. Yes, I think, we should just maybe even do this even later. I know Mark does his much later, like 10 p.m, but I'm generally asleep by then. I'm like a morning person. What setup do you use for your walking dictation? Okay, so for walking dictation, I have just been using these headphones, actually, just the iPhone headphones and the iPhone with, I think it's called Voice Notes or something, Audio Notes, just the standard app. And then I've synced with my computer, and then I've dragged the audio file into Drag and Dictate. However, this month, and I have yet to use it, I have Dragon Anywhere as an app on the iPhone, but I haven't used it yet. Natalie says, do you think YouTube has helped you sell books? I set up a channel and post videos. I like making the videos, but they take time. Do you think it's worth it? To be fair, I do have a YouTube channel, and I might even put this on YouTube, but it's more that I just put my interviews up there. I do the occasional video, but because it takes so much time, I just use the content I already have. So basically, I don't think YouTube is effective for fiction. I think it is effective for non-fiction, if you build up a channel around your niche. I think that's like if you do pet care, for example, then if you do YouTube videos about dogs and stuff, then that will help. But otherwise it's difficult. Leah says, you're doing great. Loving the liveness. Thank you. Thoughts regarding a series before trying a standalone? To be fair, and I've just had this conversation with someone else, doing a standalone right now, you're just barely going to sell anything. Like, the only indies who are making consistent money, I think this is probably true, the only indies making consistent money have series, in fiction, that is, in fiction. So if you haven't done a series and you're wondering why you're not making any money with fiction, try a series and then come back. Okay, so those people saying, will this be recorded? This is being recorded, and then it goes on Facebook as a recording, so that's cool. I'm from Canada. Would it be wise to begin with Kobo, then move to the others? No, to be honest, if you're in Canada, publish on Kindle, Kobo, iBooks, Draft to Digital, and you will make sales that way. Canada is probably my second biggest sales now. Certainly is my biggest sales through Kobo. So yeah, but the Kobo doesn't have an exclusivity requirement, so you don't need to worry about being exclusive with Kobo, which is very cool. Okay, I love this. Actually, this is quite fun. I'm enjoying it. Okay. Oh, somebody actually asking about how I publish, how I do my print books, and there it is again, out this week. Actually, to be honest, both the print books are out now. You can actually get them now. I'm doing an official launch on the 29th, but the print book and the workbook are both live right now on Amazon, Barnes & Noble. Do I publish on both Ingram Spark and Createspace? If so, why not, etc. I only use Createspace. The reason being is I will recommend Ingram Spark absolutely if you very much care about print as a format and you want to distribute to bookstores. Like if you're going to spend the time creating relationships with bookstores, then go with Ingram Spark. But basically, if you're doing this as a kind of a professional, go with Createspace for standard distribution and then Ingram Spark for extended distribution, and just don't check those boxes on Createspace. I just use Createspace for everything because print is such a tiny percentage of my sales. It's about 7%, and so I don't focus on it. We only have so much energy, right, in a day, and I choose to focus my energy on creating more products that I can sell rather than kind of chasing print distribution. Okay. Oh, has anyone used Lightning Source? So Ingram Spark is what Lightning Source used to be. So you don't use Lightning Source anymore unless you already had an account with them. Oh, and people are asking about the size. Okay, so this is a 5x8, which is what I use for most of my normal size print, is what all my fiction is. This is a 6x9. Here we go. So you can see the difference. And I use the 6x9 format for these kind of workbook formats. So basically, it's got lines in. So when there's a question in the book, I've left space for you to write the answer. So this is the kind of workbook version that I'm going to do from now on for my non-fiction. And also when I redo how to market a book that later this year, I'll do a version there as well. Okay, Graham says, any thoughts on using images with non-fiction when using print on demand? Does it have any impact on costs? Oh yeah, it does. So with images in general, my opinion is, in my book Create Career Change, I do have some, diagrams and figures and things, and I do think they're worth doing, but they do add to the page count, and they might not look good. They certainly don't use grayscale or anything, and if you want full colour, it's going to be really expensive. So and with the ebook, they obviously add delivery cost, which can take off some of your profit. So I would say that for images, be very, very clear as to why you want images in your books. Do they really add to the reader's experience? And can you instead put a page on your website? So, whatever, thecreativepen.com/book images, and then direct people from the book to your website. And this serves two purposes. One, it makes your book cheaper to deliver and print, and two, it gets people to your website where they will potentially sign up to your email list. You could have affiliate links on there, you can have links to your other books, so getting people to your website is a really good idea. People are saying yes, the thing is mirrored. Do you know what, I wonder if it's because I've got my camera facing forwards instead of backwards. So I would have to turn the camera around, so I'm just not going to do that right now because I'll screw something up. But be assured that the successful author mindset is not written backwards, and I am reversed as well, but it just doesn't look like it. Okay, cool. Oh, hello to the Martones in the van in Serenity. Fantastic. didn't realise you could use Audacity to record live, or did you mean that you use it for your podcast? Well, as in, I could be recording audio with Audacity right now. It's not live as such, as in you save the file and then you can use the audio. Oh, hi from the Netherlands. Any way I can get on Audible being non-US and non-UK? There are some options now. I can't remember if anyone knows that company that's just opened up. I can't remember what it's called, but there is a new company that started, but you have to pay. No, you can't go through ACX like that. But as I said, well, I think there will be a lot more options as time goes on. Okay. All right. Waves, hello. From North Carolina. Okay. Is there any way to get hardback books while still using Createspace? No, not at the moment. But last year when I spoke to Createspace, I said people want hardbacks. So I think they are going to do that at some point. Writing question, how can I be sure my characters aren't boring? Okay, if you're bored, your characters are boring. That's it. If you're not bored, they're fine. That will probably help. How do you track taxes for books you sell directly from your website? Great question. And I use a site called Selz, selz.com. And with that, you can set your taxes per country, and then they just give you what you, they give it to you. That's a good question. I think they give it all to you and they give the report, and then you can pay your various taxes if you do that. Or with the EU, you can just select do not sell these direct to the EU. So hopefully that will help. So selz.com, selz.com, or there's some other, sites like Gumroad will also do it. Okay. I'm just about to do my second fantasy for middle grade readers. Seems to be difficult to get any traction. I'm thinking about switching. Okay, Matthew, second book in a series, you're not going to necessarily get too far anyway. So I would suggest that you do at least 3 in a series, because 3 is kind of a magic number and gets you started, and then move on if you want. But middle grade also is difficult because you'd be looking at using something like, well, I don't even know what middle grade. You should be targeting the teachers and the parents and the grandparents and stuff, because that age group don't buy their own ebooks. So it is a difficult age group. So yeah, I mean, if you're doing this if you want to make some money, then switching genre will help. But if you really love that middle grade fantasy, then definitely do 3. Okay. Oh, Deborah, the New Orleans Taphophile. Wonderful. Thank you, Deborah. Taphophiles are people who like graveyards, if you didn't know, although you probably do know if you listen to me regularly enough. Okay, see more. How do you find time to write and to market? If you could pick the best bang for buck for your time, what would you suggest? Actually, and I was just narrating this chapter today, this balancing time thing, and it's about considering maker time and manager time. So with maker time, you're essentially saying, I'm making stuff in this time. And if you don't do that, you'll never get anywhere. So that has to come first. Manager time is all the rest of it. So if you only have an hour a day and you haven't written a book yet, that whole hour should be on maker time. If you have a book or you're about to launch that book, then maybe switch that hour to manager time. But track how much time you spend on maker time and manager time. And if you're not making enough, things won't be happening. Wine instead of water, love it. Excellent, everyone likes the wine. There we go, good. Do you have stories you've never published? No, but I do have, I don't know if I turn the camera to my, okay, there are some of my journals. So I have probably 30 or 40 journals full of unpublished stuff, and I actually take some of those excerpts and they are in the Successful Author Mindset, and some of them who have some people who've read it say they're quite raw, but I think it's important for me to be honest as ever with you guys. So yeah, some raw stuff. Okay, I know you had a block on writing fiction. Was it realizing it was a block or you needed to overcome it? To be fair, I still don't really believe in block, but it's just a word that people use, so you have to use it. But there was a podcast I had with Tom Evans way back in like 2009, and he said, I think you have a block with writing fiction. And it was I thought I had to write literary fiction, but actually I didn't. So that was cool. And that's what started me off. And then, so realising that I didn't have to, that the mindset I had was wrong was kind of the big turning point. Then I started to learn about how to write a novel. I think it's the biggest block with fiction is that you just don't know how to start. So yeah, hopefully that will help. Yeah, I think hopefully we've come back. Yeah, I'm just going to assume if people are asking questions, then you can still see me. Okay. When did I first publish? What did you decide was your niche? Okay, so the first book I published was Career Change in its first incarnation, which was How to Enjoy Your Job or Find a New One, which was, I wrote in 2006, published end of 2007, and in 2008 I realised I didn't know anything about selling, and that's when I started to learn about marketing. I rewrote How to Enjoy Your Job in 2012 when I had left my job as Career Change, and that's a big lesson. If you haven't heard that lesson before, book title should be SEO, as in search engine optimized, and it should be keywords on Amazon. So for non-fiction, having a keyword optimized book title is so important, unless you have a platform already. So the successful author mindset is not a good SEO title, but I have an audience, so it will help me start. But having an SEO book title, I would say, is the biggest thing that will keep your book selling over time. Okay, have I ever done NaNoWriMo? Yes, I did. And in fact, tomorrow on the podcast on Monday, whatever tomorrow is, like the 27th or something, I will have, my podcast is with Grant Faulkner, who is the director of NaNoWriMo, and we'll be talking about how to write 50,000 words in a month. So that's cool, isn't it? Okay. Oh, I would like to know about book covers. Where do I go to get one? So thecreativepen.com/book cover design. I have a whole list of options there. So hopefully that is helping. Oh, I just spotted one. Karen says, have you heard that digital book sales are dropping or decreasing? I've heard it, but find it hard to believe. Yeah, okay. So the industry is reporting a drop in ebook prices. The reason why they're reporting this is their data is incomplete. Their data only includes the traditional publishers. It does not include any indies. If you go to authorearnings.com, you will see from their report, it's around 30 to 40% of ebook data in America is not being reported by these things, and indies have a larger and larger share of the ebook market. So for example, I don't use ISBNs, so none of my book sales are counted, and in fact that is how many indies work. So those figures are not counted in the official figures. So no, ebook sales are fine, thank you very much. Yes, and Daniel points out their sales have decreased because they price beyond Amazon's recommended range. Oh, Suzanne says, why are so many indie publishers against literary fiction, as I love to read it and want to self-publish? Indie publishers are not against literary fiction. There are a lot of literary fiction indie authors, and I presume you mean indie authors, not indie publishers as in traditional independent publishers. But no, definitely indie authors are pro-literary, absolutely. And I know lots of professional literary fiction indie authors, like Orna Ross, who is the founder of the Alliance of Independent Authors, who is literary. Ros Morris, who's been on the podcast a number of times, writes literary fiction. A whole load of people. So no, definitely no one against that. Oh, someone says, curious why you don't use ISBNs. Because you don't need them. I'm making good money and selling books, and you don't need them. And in England, you have to pay, and they're not cheap. So why pay for something that is not necessary? if you want to get your book into a physical bookstore, then yes, use ISBNs and go through Ingram Spark. I'm not interested in that, so I don't, and it's not necessary, basically. Gemma says, how hard would it be to publish a personalised child's book where the child's name is changed but the story stays the same? Sourcebooks are doing this right now, so it's definitely being done. I don't know about, it'd just be really hard as an indie because you would have to change the design every time and like upload it and print it. It would just take too long. So I would say very hard as an indie. Okay. Oh, Daniel says, what do you think about Chris Fox's writing to markets? Is this something you'd consider doing? I read the book and I really admire Chris Fox. I keep meaning to ask him on the podcast more to talk about future stuff, because when we met at the Smarter Artist Summit, we kind of bonded over futurist stuff. But I think I spent 13 years in a job I hated, right? I'm not going to write a book in a genre I don't love. So if there is something that overlaps with a top-selling genre, then maybe I would. But for example, I'm not going to write supernatural paranormal romance. I like writing supernatural but not romance. So probably not, to be honest. Good. Suzanne says, you and your husband have been working together in your business for a while now. Based on your experience, do you have any other advice for couples thinking of working together? So obviously my husband's in the next room. He's probably listening. But no, it's going really well. But the difficulty, I think, is trying to separate your responsibilities. So one person isn't in charge as such. Like, we both own half of the company. So it's making sure you have a separate domain as such. So right now he's working on video and he edits my video now, and he's taking over that domain. So that's really cool. So there's different things that we do. He does the email side of things. He's doing some of the advertising. And it's probably more my fault than anything that I'm a bit of a control freak. So letting things go that I've done for so long is quite difficult. I will at some point, I think after a year of working together, I will talk, do a blog post on all the, how to do it. But we're still together, so it's all good. Okay. May I contact you outside this Q&A about appearing on the writing podcast I run? Yes, you guys, if you're signed up to my list, you have my email. So, and I do generally reply to most emails if they're sensible. So, yeah, you can email. Some people say you shouldn't publish until you have 2 or 3 books written. What are your thoughts on this? Well, I think it's all to do with your personality and whether you have the patience to wait. I certainly didn't. I mean, I remember hearing from people like CJ Lyons, Bob Mayer, about this back when I only had 1 novel, and I was like, no way am I waiting. That's ridiculous. I'm not, I've just spent 2, and my first book took me 14 months, I think. I was raring to go. So I think, yes, it would be great if you can wait to have 3 books and then publish. But if you can't wait, then no worries. Did you talk about Brexit yet? I didn't. I will talk about Brexit on the podcast tomorrow. If you listen to the podcast, the first 20 minutes I talk about Brexit. So suffice to say, whatever happens, I think we'll be okay. So I clearly voted Remain because I'm an international globalist, but I don't think the world is ending. Oh, thank you, Linda. Says, I'm amazing. Thank you so much. When will we get to meet your husband? I did say to him, do you want to just pop in the background? But yeah, at some point, I will probably just have him on the podcast and we'll chat about something, but it'll be quite weird. Okay, what else? We've got 10 more minutes. Should indie writers focus on just one genre? Well, I clearly don't. However, I can give you a little anecdote on this. My fiction, so the Arcane series is kind of action-adventure thriller with an edge of supernatural religious. kind of Dan Brownish, right? Then I've got the London Psychic series, which is more crime / horror / supernatural / thriller. Then I have a dark fantasy book, Risen Gods, which seriously barely sells any copies. And it's very hard to have one book in dark fantasy. And me and Jay Thorne are talking about doing a trilogy, because having one book is ridiculous. It's very hard to market, very hard to advertise. So yeah, in general, I would say, just 3 books within a genre, within a series. This is kind of, whether it's fiction or non-fiction, is the way to go. Kim says, we need more. When is the next broadcast? Well, that will depend on how this gets. Well, this seems to be going quite well. So I might do one next Sunday, same time. I might kind of see how it goes. Generally in the evening, I definitely need a glass of wine to get going, but this seems to be going all right. Ian says, I'm put off writing because it seems to take several years to get going and start making decent money. I'm a bit over 60. I think it's all going to be too little too late. Okay, Ian, my mum, who's 67, has just started writing. So I think you are not, that's not happening. My dad wrote his first book at 65. It really depends what your goal is. I personally think that writing is worth it for its own sake. It's not necessarily about money. So get writing. Seriously, absolutely. Okay. So many people asking when they're going to meet Jonathan, my husband. You reported your fiction book sales at 70% and non-fiction at 30%. What are the percentages for actual dollars earned? No, that is dollars earned. I didn't do those numbers on volume. I did those numbers on money. So those are the percentages for volume. Have you tried pay for subscriber services like Author Rocket platform? I've never heard of it. The only pay for subscriber service I'm using or have used is Facebook advertising, where lead gen ads are basically one of those things. Do you have a favourite training video or instructor for Scrivener? Yes, I do. Learn Scrivener Fast with Joseph Michael, which, if you want to use my affiliate link, is at thecreativepen.com/Scrivener. There we go. How does a virtually unknown author reach out to bloggers and podcasters, and how do I find them? Okay, finding them, you just use Google and listen to some. If you pitch, like I get pitches all the time. Well, they now go to Alexandra, my VA, who's brilliant, because basically it'll be like, dear blogger, and it's like, dear blogger, can I do a blog post on financial services? So if you're going to do this, make sure you're very personal. So if you were pitching me, it's going to be something like, hi Joanna, I listened to this show and you said this about this, and I've just written a book that is this about this and fits really well with your audience. I would really like to propose that I come on your show and talk about this specific topic, which you've never covered before, because it's amazing that I get pitches for people who say, I want to talk about this, and I did it like 2 weeks ago or something. So you really need to pay attention to what that people are doing on the blog, to what they're podcasting about, and it needs to fit with their niche and be useful for them. Okay. People saying they love the Joseph Michael Scrivener course. It is very, very good. Oh, and Daniel says, it's unbelievably cool you share your income numbers. Very rare bit of info. Yeah, and I felt really weird about it, and I still kind of do, because, I felt very much that it's either that people think it's really shit. Oh, can I say shit? I mean, as in, some people will look at those numbers and say, oh, she just doesn't make any money. And then some people look at it and go, oh, she makes loads of money. So it's like whoever you're comparing yourself to is very difficult. Hence why there is a whole chapter on comparisonitis in the Successful Author Mindset, which I suffer from as much as anybody else. Okay. Oh, of course I can swear. It's my broadcast. I don't know, Facebook shuts things down for any reasons. Okay. I'm glad you're all enjoying this. There seems to be quite nice, stuff happening. So that's good. I'll probably do another one on Wednesday. Oh, is it Wednesday I'm launching my book? I think it's Wednesday. You can see my cheeks are getting a bit red now. Apparently I also said ass. don't think ass is rude. Okay, right. I'm going to just scroll down. Here we go. Oh, I saw some YouTube videos where they're saying outsource writing a book and build $1 million publishing empire. Yes. So, why are we all doing this? This is what I think. People who talk about outsourcing are getting ghostwriters. To be fair, why are you doing this if you're not wanting to write? Like, to me, it's crazy to think that you would want to get into publishing unless you A, love books, and B, love writing in some way. And of course, for many, it's I hate writing, I love having written, the Dorothy L. Sayers quote, or whatever it is, which is also in the new book. But I don't know why you would want to do that. I think the Kindle get rich quick thing is just a load of crap. So there you go, a load of ass. Okay. Everyone seems to think I should do this again, that you're enjoying this. That's very good. That it's been super fun. I'm really happy with that. And yeah, yay. How many times do you suggest I edit my work? And do you think it should be edited by the same editor? This is a really good point. Okay, so one, your self-editing is very important. So this short story that I waved at you earlier, I've already edited that myself 3 times and it's still not very good. I will probably edit it another 2 times myself and then I will send it to my editor and then it will go to the person who commissioned it and they will send it to another editor, because you only have that one chance with someone's fresh mind. So I think this is really important that people forget that fresh mind is what you will get in a reader. So you have to have a fresh edit if you want a fresh point of view, because once somebody has read your book, including you, like once you've read your book, you know your book, it's very hard to edit your own work. It's practically impossible. So you can self-edit as much as possible, but then you really need somebody else. Okay. So many questions. Apparently I'm swearing as much as the SPP boys. I don't think so. Oh, good. Okay. This is a hoot. Oh, apparently I have to, I'm going to try, before we finish, I'll turn the camera around and show you the book with the right cover around the right way. Okay, I'm just going to like scroll through really fast. Oh, can you send paperback books to Amazon for them to sell? Great you asked that question, because I've been asked that 3 times this week and I'm like, why would you do that? Okay, so you need to go to createspace.com and you just upload digital files and you use print on demand. This will save you so much money. Amazing. Robert says, oh no, Apollo, I'm going to do Apollo's first. How has your experience been with selling books directly from your website? Okay, seriously, I sell about 2 books a week direct from my website. However, I fully expect to sell more in the next year, and also I will be selling audio as well direct from the website. So I'm absolutely expecting direct sales to grow this year. I think over time people will, will get used to that and buy more. Okay, 4 minutes counting down. Yes, I will upload this later on. I think it's definitely there. How do you keep track of multiple plots in a novel? Well, with that, you actually need Scrivener. And then you can do all kinds of cool things with colour coding and that type of thing. That's what I use anyway. I use Scrivener for everything. Oh, Tony says my glass isn't getting emptier. Yes, it is. Okay. Do you think Kindle Spy is worth the price? No. What else? That's been the fastest hour ever. Createspace is great if you need to gift a book. Yeah, indeed. 'Tis a bucket, not a glass. Oh, I was going to tell you this. This is a Rydell O glass, and very super glass. You don't need a stem on a wine glass, just so you know. Okay, wow, so many questions. This is amazing. Is it important to put your print book on Kindle? Yes, Chana, it is absolutely important to put your print book on Kindle. Okay, go and have a look at my blog post, which details the breakdown of books. I think it's like 84% of my income comes from ebooks. So yes, you need a ebook. There you go. That is my answer to that. Also, with Createspace, for example, you will, just back on print, if you want to send a copy, oh, that's what we're going to do. I was gonna give away. So how about I give away? I'm gonna give away a copy of the mindset and a copy of the workbook, and they will not be reversed when you get them. So what should we? In fact, I was gonna do a question. So the first 2 people to answer this question will get. The first person will get the handbook, and the second person will get the workbook. Okay. The question is this: What country is my last novel, Destroyer of Worlds, set in? And you either have to have read it or been a fan of and if you've been on the podcast, you should know this. So what country is Destroyer of Worlds set in? Oh, seriously? None of you bought it. You can Google it. India, Suzanne Grosser. Okay, fantastic, Suzanne. You win a copy of the Backwards Successful Author Mindset. Oh, now I can't do the same question for the next person. Oh, that's fantastic. Okay, so Suzanne got that. Okay, how about Spain? Natalie. Okay, I'm going to give it to Natalie, even though she said Spain. I've got another book in Spain, which was Gates of Hell. So Natalie and Suzanne, email me, joanna@thecreativepen.com, with your home addresses, and I will send it to you. All good. Okay. All right, so it is pretty much on the hour. I'm going to stop now because otherwise I'll just get really tipsy and this will degrade rapidly. So thank you so much. And so I guess I should do this again, right? Tell me on the comments, should I be doing this again? Is this definitely something we want? Yep, looks like it. Looks like people want to do it again. So I will sort that out and make sure that we do it again, and the recording will go up. And I really enjoyed talking to you all, and yeah, thanks so much for coming. Tomorrow the podcast will be out, and we'll be on to another week. So happy writing week ahead, and that's me signing off with my glass of wine. Good night, everyone. Bye.